Film, gaming, pop culture. Welcome to episode 8 of Everything is Permitted. I'm your host, Julian Brown, alongside my co-host, Matt Reppert. Welcome back!
Yes, it's been forever. A lot of stuff happened.
Well, by the time you listen to this, Thanksgiving will have been past,
Yep.
Hanukkah will have been over, and now we're on the home stretch to Christmas.
We're running up to Christmas.
We're running up to Christmas. It's been a little bit.
It has been.
Life happens. Mm-hmm. Thanksgiving.
Yep.
In-laws in from California. Colds.
Yep.
Little 6-week-olds.
Yeah, I'm duking out with my cold right now as we speak.
That cold that's been going around has been flipping brutal, but it's good to be back. We have a great episode for you today. We're going to be talking Black Friday. We're going to be talking Keyforge with Bryan Becker, who's been on the show before, to talk about X-Wing. We are going to talk about the big controversy surrounding Daredevil.
Yes.
And we'll go into the permitted minute.
Yeah.
We have a lot to talk about, so I think we're just going to barrel through instead of talking about what we've missed. I do want to make one quick announcement. This Tuesday, this is the show that you're listening to right now, and then next Tuesday, we're going to do basically 2 weeks worth of shows, okay? So next Tuesday, you'll have episode 9. After that, we're going to take another little holiday break, and with that, we are going to do our award show, which will leave us a few weeks to prepare for. What's going to be cool about that is, like we did with the Avengers poll, we are going to leave it up to you. Okay? And Matt and I will tell you if you're wrong. I think it'll be fun.
It's going to be great. I love it.
I like telling people they're wrong. So let's just get right to it. We're going to do the permitted minute. And so it's time for
the permitted minute.
We're going to go in 3, 2, 1, go.
Both the second Captain Marvel trailer and the Avengers 4 teaser debuted this week. We break down those a week from today. Number 2, on the subject of Avengers 4, we now have a title, Endgame. We're in the Endgame now, baby.
Aquaman has already brought in $1.9 million in early China screenings. China, baby. All points are leading to a late 2019 release of the new Jean-Luc Picard series, which will be streaming on CBS All Access. Make it so, number 1. Finally, Leah Seydoux, who debuted in the 007 franchise in Spectre, the one with Dave Bautista, will reprise her role as Madeline Swan in Bond 25.
That was an easy one.
That was an easy one.
That was easy.
I did it purposely.
No,
so
I get you.
We didn't have any
we
room to
got to
fail
get
this
through
week
this
because we got a busy show.
Yep. Let's power through this.
It's nice winning every now and then.
I think we're winning more often than not, but we
are. We're gonna skip the permitted minute for episode 9, and episode 10 for our award show. We'll have a nice big one. So I think we're gonna set ourselves up.
God! All right.
For that one, let's get into it. Black Friday.
Yes.
This is like your favorite thing, I think.
I like Black Friday a lot. I'll admit to being a consumer shill. Granted, I'm not elbowing people out of the way because my targets are much easier to get. I'm not looking to get a TV from Walmart or Best Buy or something like that. That's what people are going for. That's what they're
getting the big toys, the washers on sale.
Yeah, I'm looking for the movies and games that, the hardcore people might know about, but generally slip under the radar for most people. Because I could have walked in, I discovered that Best Buy didn't open at midnight on Black Friday. It actually opened at like 6 p.m. Thanksgiving. So I literally was about 6 hours late to the Black Friday door opening. Because I literally got done work and went over there.
Did you find what you were looking for?
The funny thing is, I don't have like an ad. I just walk in and see what's available, what they got, what they got for me. And I have a stack of crap next to me that
I want you to go through that.
Yes.
But we're gonna ask one question here real quick because I've been noticing it, and I've heard a couple people talking about Black Friday, and if the deals are actually deals.
I will say. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. I generally don't trust a lot of Black Friday deals on websites and the Cyber Monday stuff and all that because, I always feel like that the price has been adjusted a little bit or it was raised and then, we lowered it down just for this. I feel like that there's a lot more potential for abuse on online websites. So, and that's where you have to like compare prices to other sites and things like that. And to me that kind of becomes a chore, and that's why like I generally like Cyber Monday. I'll take a look and see if something is out there that I'm interested in. But for the most part, I don't do a lot of the Cyber Monday stuff. I like to actually be there when the thing is on sale so I can actually look at it, and go, okay, yeah, I know how much this normally costs, so I know if it's a good deal or not.
Well, I see your stack. Mm-hmm. So why don't we do it here? What did you get?
Okay,
what did you get? And then after we go through that, if there's anything else you were thinking about.
I went movies and video games, obviously.
I
so
see so many steelbooks.
Yeah. I'll start out with video games. Now, as I said, I went into Black Friday going to Best Buy, and when I got up in the morning after going to Best Buy, I went back to Best Buy and also went to FYE and, funny enough, GameStop. So what I ended up getting, first of all, for Xbox One, I got the Banner Saga trilogy.
Okay.
Now, this is a game that probably a lot of people don't know about. It's a strategy game. It's basically a combination of resource management / RPG / a couple other genres I can't even think about. Very story-based. It's Norse mythology with like a heavy sprinkling of just fantasy elements. It's a tough-as-nails game series. I played the first one, could not get through it without cheating. I own it on PC. And loved it. I got it for about $10.
$10.
The entire trilogy is on disc, $10
All
on
right,
console.
we're looking good so far.
So, sticking with the Norse thing, I got this for $25. I got God of War.
This is one that I regret not picking up on Black Friday. I should have just pulled the trigger.
Yep, I didn't get it at first. This is what I went back. went back to Best Buy. I had it in my hands when I was there. I went there with my brother when I got done work, and I had it in my hands, and I was like, you know what? I'm not going to get it now. Then the more I thought about it, the more I'm like, God of War is not going to have a hugely significant price drop, probably for a while, because
it's a Game of the Year contender.
Yeah, those really big console exclusives, they tend to stay up in price much longer than the ones that are multi-console. So another game that I got, I went out and bought it, and I didn't even know it existed as a physical copy, and I got it from GameStop because it's the only place that actually sells it, is a horror game by the name of Bendy and the Ink Machine.
That's crazy.
Now, I played a little bit of this game, and it's one of those games where you're walking around. The art style is like a 1930s cartoon. Think Cuphead, but instead of like the light and funny atmosphere of Cuphead, this is dark and serious. Like these, and I only just started to get into the creepy stuff in the game where, you walk out of the room and the standout of this thing that's on the cover is like looking at you and smiling. And one little touch about the game that I like is that the person you're playing actually talks, which, a lot of horror survival games, they never say a word. But this guy, like, he steps out of the room. He's like, wait, where the hell did that come from? That wasn't there when I walked in. So I got that. Now, this was another one which I got from Best Buy. I picked it up out of nostalgia for the original game series, which I played a little bit of back in the day, but Mutant Football League.
What?
Yes, they remade the Mutant Football game series. I knew that this had come out. I knew that, it was available. It was one of those things. I was like, if I get it cheap, I'll get it. I played a little bit of it. It is a fun game. Dear God that you and the other teams can cheat. Literally, I played one game where my starting quarterback was flat out murdered by the other team because they used a blitz tactic that literally before I could snap the ball, they were allowed to cross the line of scrimmage, and they flat out just murdered my quarterback.
Are there like weapons, or do they just like punch and beat the crap out
They
of
punch
them?
and beat the crap out. So it's, you can attack the referee and the game doesn't tell you the referee, you can bribe the referee, and if the referee is calling penalties against you, there's an option you can pick where you go attack the referee, where you kill the referee.
Oh my God.
And then a new referee takes over. Now it gives your team a penalty, but if the referee has been bribed by the other team, it removes him from play and brings another one in there. So it makes sense in the
That's
in
a
the
little
grand
crazy.
scheme
Well,
of things.
you got some really unique things besides God of War, maybe.
Yes.
Some really cool, unique games. So that's fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
I see some movies I'm very excited about.
Yes,
For your students.
I went now for movies. Now I'm just going to grab a whole big stack of them here.
'Cause I know exactly
I got
what they are.
the Purge movies.
That is now. I thought that was Darth Maul on the front. I thought you got the Star Wars steelbooks.
Now, they had those, but they weren't for sale, and that's one of those things where I'm like, I can get them eventually.
These are nice.
Those are the 4K steelbooks of every single Purge movie that has been released. Now, the first 3 movies were about $12 a pop. So those are a good deal. Couldn't pass them up. And the newest one, which is the first Purge, I got for like 20 something. It's a good, because normally most 4K steelbooks are like $35.
I've never seen any of the movies, but the steelbooks.
Oh, they're fun. Nice. They're fun movies to watch. They're very, as they've gone on, they've gotten more social commentary, which some people don't like, but I very much enjoy.
It's hard to run away from any of that right now, whether it's movies or television.
Absolutely. I mean, even I know that I think the most recent one, the first Purge, they actually, literally, one of the movie posters had the red MAGA hat, but it said "Make America Purge Again" on it. So I got the entire Purge collection. I got all those. I decided to go old school because I didn't expect to see this movie, but the Dark Crystal, the 4K steelbook of the Dark Crystal, with Netflix coming out with the Dark Crystal stuff this coming year. I saw it was for sale. I think it was like $17. I can't remember. I was like, you know what? Like, I haven't seen Dark Crystal in forever. Why not?
Now, looking at this one, just from I'm starting to like recognize some steelbooks. I don't think it is that, but just from first glance, that looks like the Infinity War steelbook, but it's not.
It is not. It is not. This I got from FYE. It was for sale, and I was like, the director of Dark Crystal, I decided I'd get the other one. I got Labyrinth.
Do you know that I've seen both movies, but I always mix up Labyrinth and Dark Crystal?
Really?
Yeah. I don't know why, but I do. I know that they're two completely different movies.
And the funny thing is that Labyrinth is one of those movies where I have not met a single woman who doesn't love this movie.
Oh, no. It's,
I have not. I don't know what it is.
If
it's David Bowie's package, his amazing package, in his tight spandex pants, or just his overall demeanor, but
I think it's Bowie and Bowie. Yeah,
I mean, if you're a young gentleman, looking to court some lady, watch Labyrinth with her. She'll be totally down for that. As I said, I have not met a single woman.
Labyrinth would never have been successful without David Bowie.
Oh no, absolutely not. I've read who else they were looking to cast, and they were like, we'll go with David Bowie. So. Now, keeping with the 80s, I got the Predator 3 movie collection steelbook. Now, this has Predator 1 and 2 and the much more recent Predators. So I picked this up. I got this for like $15. All 3 movies.
Classic.
Yeah, the first movie is a classic.
Am I
the second
correct?
movie
was Schwarzenegger and Danny
Glover. Danny Glover's in the second one. Yeah. The third Predators thing, which is the movie just Predators, came out like 6-7 years ago, I think, has Adrian Brody as the lead.
It was okay.
I heard it was okay. I heard it's a solid entry to the Predator series. And so, as I said, for the price, I couldn't beat it. And I was like, yeah, I'll definitely
I know what the last 3 letters are, so I immediately know what this is. It's probably the best purchase you made.
This is Highlander.
Yeah,
the first Highlander movie. Now,
there can be only one.
Yep. Now, the funny thing is that this is one of those movies where I have not sat down and watched it in forever. It's a classic movie. The fact that Queen pretty much, I think, did most of, if not their entire soundtrack, pretty much elevates it beyond most other movies. Love the hell out of it. And the thing that kills me is that I'm one of those people where if I buy the first movie in a series, I try and buy the rest. This will probably be one of my lone exceptions because
the rest Highlander 2
sucks. Highlander 2 sucks, and the movies beyond that, the other, like the made-for-TV movies like Highlander Endgame, and they're all terrible. Like, I've seen numerous video reviews. They're all terrible. They all suck. And so this will probably be the only Highlander movie.
Wasn't horrible.
I never watched it.
It wasn't bad.
I never watched it. Never got around to it. That pretty much covers what I bought on Black Friday, around Black Friday, what I got from Black Friday deals. I made a lot of good purchases. I feel like, as I said, I got the first 3 purchases. You
did better than I did. I was gonna come with you, and I was lame and sick. So you did very well. Karen and I came. Actually, no, Karen didn't even come. My friend Nikki and I came here. She got a Bob Ross pest dispenser. And then Wade had his great sales here. There was one thing specifically I was looking for, which was I think it's Diamond Select does some nice statues, but they're nice, but they're on the cheaper end, like $50. Yeah. he had a bunch of the other like Batman like villains for the like $25 like on sale.
Okay.
And my Batman one was already gone. It was like the one thing I came for,
Damn.
and I wanted it so bad because it's Batman in his ongoing the DC Rebirth suit. It's a nice mix of like the classic Batman suit. It's gray and black, and it's got a yellow utility belt, but no undies. And the bat symbol is beautiful. It's like it's not curved or anything. It's got very straight lines, almost like a la Dark Knight, and it's outlined in yellow. It's really nice. It's just like classic, and the point, the ears are a mix of like Dark Knight Returns and like, you know, the classic suit. They're not quite long, but they're just like short enough.
Okay.
It's just a perfect suit. So like, and it was in a great position, and I really wanted it. And it was gone. So I ended up just buying more Destiny cards. He had Destiny cards on sale. I bought some of the old set and some new set. And I got garbage. that was my Black Friday. What I wanted to get, and Karen shot me down, was Best Buy was having a good deal on a Ring doorbell. They were doing a Ring doorbell and a Echo Dot 3rd generation, which is the latest generation. That was free in the purchase of the Ring. And I was like, let's get it. She's like, I just don't know the need for a Ring doorbell. And I'm like,
so you can look at all the weirdos that come up to your door
exactly.
when you're not
but
there.
Who comes to our door? And I'm like, people come to our door. Like, I just picked up like a Jehovah's Witness letter. Like, I mean, like, it happens. So I was lame on Black Friday.
No,
I was a little sad.
That's fine.
I was a little sad. I wanted to get the Ring doorbell. I didn't get it.
You know, you should have pulled the trigger on God of War, man.
I should have. And I went to Target still on Black Friday, and they had it for the same price. And I was like, I'm gonna get it. I was like, no. So, well, you know, part of it was I knew I was gonna be spending a lot of money at PAX.
Okay.
So I was like spending money on tournaments. There was stuff I was going to want to buy there.
No, I get you.
I spent a lot of money at PAX. So, so I'm glad that I didn't go crazy on Black Friday. But yeah, you did better than I did. So I guess, you know, this kind of goes back to the first question.
Yeah.
Of, you know, are these deals actually deals? Is it becoming more of a scam, do you think? Or to basically come get people out? Because listen, like, yeah, they're putting things on sale, but that just means people are spending more of like an exorbitant amount of money. So like, is it to get them to spend money, or are they really simply just trying to clear out stock for 2019?
I'd say it's a little bit of both. You know, because when you buy, like, you know, some, like, as I said, the Purge movies were like $12-13 a pop, you know, and this was the 4K Steelbook, which, you know, when they're selling them for that amount, then it's just like, why do I have to spend $35 on a brand new one then? So I very much believe that, yeah, they are clearing stock. You know, they want to just get the stuff out. They want to get people to buy it, you know, because you have people like me. Because at first I had bought the 3 Purge movies, and like the first Purge, I was kind of like, well, maybe I'll get some other time. And my brother was with me. He's like, just get it now. Like, just get it out of the way. Get it now. It's already, you know, it's like, you know, 20-something bucks. And I was like, all right. So now, definitely when certain things go on sale, they are most definitely clearing inventory. And the best example of that I can think of is they actually had the Matrix Steelbook on sale a couple months ago. And it was only the first movie, and I was this close to buying it. I was like, oh, you know what? You know, I'll buy it. And then I was like, well, wait a minute, what about the other 2 movies? It's a trilogy. And I did, you know, so I didn't get it that time, and I did my research and discovered that they were releasing the entire trilogy, individual movies in 4K Steelbooks, which this was not.
They're trying to clear it out.
So they were just trying to get rid of it to get some more space in there. So, you know, sometimes it pays to do your research. If you see a movie on sale, you know, for whatever reason, and, you know, normally, you know, it's much more expensive, then I would do your research first. You know, if you got your phone on you, just kind of Google it and see, is a 4K version coming out that you'd be more interested in? Because that tends to be what happens quite a few times, you know, because 4K is the thing that kind of gets pushed.
Well, next year I promise to do better. I'm going to come with you on Black Friday
All
next
right.
year. I'm promising
All right.
now. If my in-laws weren't here and I wasn't sick, I would have been there.
I get hey, man, there's no problem with that.
So next year I will make some big purchase, much to Karen's chagrin. It'll make me happy.
Absolutely.
All right. When we come back, I'm going to sit down with Bryan Becker, who was on the show last to talk about X-Wing 2nd Edition. Bryan and I were both at PAX last weekend, and we played a new game called Keyforge, which is created by the same guy who created Magic the Gathering. We're going to talk about the tournament kind of environment at PAX and kind of the future of the game. That's going to be next. Stick around. Welcome back to Everything is Permitted. I am here now with my good friend Bryan Becker. Last time we spoke, we were talking about X-Wing 2nd Edition.
Yep.
We've now found a very new, very fun game called Keyforge, which is a unique game created by Richard Garfield?
Richard Garfield,
who created Magic the Gathering, which is still going strong, 25 years?
91, I think, is when it first came out.
So
I got into it in 93-ish, but...
A very long time that Magic has gone out.
And also Netrunner.
And Netrunner, yep.
And countless others, but they're his other two major ones of the card games that most people will know of.
So I'm bad at explaining these things sometimes. So Keyforge is a unique game. That means that
it's a unique deck game.
That is a unique deck game. It is unlike anything else that's out. What is the point of Keyforge, Bryan?
Depending on how you define point of, I mean,
what is the goal of Keyforge?
The ultimate goal in the game, if I were teaching someone setup, is to forge 3 keys, as the name somewhat implies. But it's played very much like a lot of the collectible card games out there, with you kind of have a deck put together, different cards, different powers, and you're just trying to play them as efficiently as possible. A lot of games of that genre are what are considered combat games. I know you're a big Destiny player. Yep. The object of the game is to kill your opponent. In Keyforge, it's more of a race game. You're racing to collect amber and ultimately using the amber to forge your keys. In the most basic sense, the first person to 18 amber is going to win the game because you need 3 keys, 6 amber each.
And of course, during the course of the game, there's a lot of stealing and...
Yeah, and certain things can occur to make forging keys cheaper or more expensive, but in its most basic format, what you're looking at is trying to accumulate 18 amber over the course of the game to forge your keys. And as is always with these games, there's exceptions to the rules, but once you get a key forged, it's kind of locked in place. So you have these 3 milestones within the game, and the third one ends the game immediately.
Now, we could go on talking about, the rules and strategies of Keyforge, but we're hoping that if you're listening to this segment that you've already played Keyforge a few times and really enjoy the game, because Bryan and I were both at PAX Unplugged this past weekend, and it was a blast. And we both, I think, out of everyone that we kind of know, we maybe played the Keyforge the most. You played, I think, the most.
Yeah,
out of anybody.
In the first PAX, I made fun of a friend of mine for playing X-Wing throughout the entirety of PAX, and basically he went to PAX, played X-Wing, and I said, "Why did you even bother spending $65 plus the entrance fee to go to a place to play one game the entire time? It seems like a waste." This PAX, I went and played Keyforge pretty much exclusively the entire time. Spent extra money simply to play a game that I could play with friends, but it was just, I couldn't pull myself away from the tables the entire time. It was just always looking to the next tournament, so...
Well, what I thought was really cool and interesting about it being at PAX was, it was literally, 2 weeks old at that point.
Yeah.
So there was, a huge buzz up in the... exhibit hall. I mean, that line to play the demos was always crazy long. I made the mistake at opening to go wait in that line to get my my bad penny pin. And I was like, I gotta get to the tournament downstairs. I got there in plenty of time. There were a few different formats of tournaments during it, and again, only 2 weeks old. So these were basically, I think this was the first convention with these tournaments, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe it was previewed at Gen Con, I'm not entirely sure.
Well, talking to the tournament organizers, Fantasy Flight had gone through a separate group who apparently their entire thing is that they do these, they kind of third-party out these tournaments, and they run them.
And Cascade Games was this one.
Yeah, and talking to them, it was kind of interesting because a lot of the prizes they were giving out and the rewards for winning individual rounds and winning the ultimate tournaments were leftovers from previous tournaments that they had done. So... But I don't know that they were fully established tournaments at that point. I think they may have mostly been the introductory games, because while the game had only been released 2 weeks prior, they had been promoting it for months I think. And, I know even at our local shop, he had a release where it was, you can play the game, you can demo the game, and
it was a lot of fun. It was a good event. Yeah.
Unfortunately, I couldn't make it out to that, but
no, you could play the game, and he had some decks to buy, so you could buy a couple decks if you wanted.
Right,
to.
But the starter kits weren't available at that time, so you had to piecemeal your stuff together.
And people were interested and really into it. I mean, I'm hooked, and Karen, who's obviously not on the show with us today, was absolutely hooked too, and she played some on Friday at PAX and had a blast. There were, I think, three tournament types. There was the Archon Elimination. There was the where is it? I have it on here. Or maybe I don't have it on here. Sorry, Diminishing Returns.
Right.
There's Diminishing Returns, which is bring your own deck, I believe.
Well, they had 3 primary types of games and 4 primary types, because you had a diminishing return setup where when a deck wins, you would come in with 3 decks. If it won, it was eliminated. You couldn't use it again. There was I forget what they called it, but it was the opposite of that, in which if a deck lost, it could no longer be used again.
Elimination.
Then they had
the draft.
They had the draft version, and then they had the individual pods, which I think were just straight up games.
I think pods, you brought your own deck, and
they had both variations.
Yeah.
You could do sealed pods, and they had this for both types of the other tournaments as well. You could bring it sealed, or you could play Archon version, which is you bringing and you knowing your decks. So that's another interesting thing about Keyforge is they have this idea of some versions are going to be bring your stuff, you know it, play it, and do your best with it. And then there's others where you're coming in blind. You're not even allowed to look at your opponent's stuff. Both players are playing. Shuffle up your deck, make it work with what's in your hand. Don't worry about what the future holds for your deck. And
now, correct me if I'm wrong. You played, I think, in two of the 3 of these. You played in a draft, and you
played in 3 of them.
Yeah, 3 drafts. And I
played in 3 variants. I played in the draft.
You did all 3. Okay,
yeah, I did the losing out and then winning out.
Out of the Archon Elimination, out of the Diminishing Returns, and the draft, what was your favorite to play most of that weekend?
I actually think the blind lose and your deck is out was my favorite, but I didn't get a great sampling of it. The draft version, I definitely didn't play what would be considered a typical draft. With the group that we were in, I'd introduced another friend and he had entered into it, and I told him, look, you're new, you're going to be spending out $20 to get into this draft, you're getting a $10 deck out of this. There are certain things you can look for. As a new player, you might not necessarily know what a good deck is or a bad deck is, but there are some indicators of stuff. And go big on the draft, because the way the draft works is you're bidding chains, which could torpedo your entire game.
If you've never played Keyforge, chains are basically, if you have let's say 1 to 10 chains, you draw 1 less card during your upkeep.
1 to
if
6.
You have more, it's 2, more than that 3, more than that 4. Basically, if you have a lot of chains, it's
a handicapping system.
It's a handicap.
Because the decks are completely random, well, not completely random, but largely random, it prevents one person from having a strong enough deck that there's no point in playing them because they're simply going to beat you. So you can use this handicapping system. And in the drafting, what you do is you bid your chains for the tournament. And there was one particularly strong deck. There's a group of cards called the Four Horsemen, which, while they're certainly not silver bullets, beat everything, they're known to be one of the stronger combinations in a game in which people still don't know what the strong combinations are.
And they're selling for stupid amount of money for a game that's only been out 3 weeks, so you actually don't know if they're okay.
Right.
The kind of money they're going for is absolutely absurd.
Ludicrous. Hundreds of dollars, and in the cases of the very rare double Horseman decks, literally thousands of dollars. But that being aside, one of those decks came into play. So the bidding went ridiculous.
Yeah, your buddy bid
early.
24 chains.
He bid 24.
Right? Yeah.
After it started getting into the teens, he just said, screw it, I'm going 24 chains to be the first one to guarantee I get that deck. And he, as I told him, you're going to lose this tournament, but you win the tournament because you got the deck. You got the best deck. And after playing him with it, he absolutely got the best deck. As a brand new player, I was still coaching him. But him running with 24 chains, he almost beat me.
Even with all his chains, he performed pretty well.
Very, very well. As a brand new player, still not understanding some of the mechanics of the game, with a little bit of coaching, he almost beat me when I was running with less than half the chains he had. It's a very, very strong deck. So he was happy to play, learn some stuff, and walk away with a great deck. I walked away with a decent deck. With the minute or two I had to review the decks, there's actually one other I probably should have taken, but I really like the name of the one I got. So
there you go. I'm with you. I think Archon Elimination was probably the most not most basic. I want to say it was the most fun though. I liked I like that everybody went into those tournaments completely blind. You got 3 decks, you chose which one you wanted to play with, and hoped that you could go, depending on how big the group was, 3-0, 5-0.
Right.
I didn't do great. I went 3-2 in mine. I got one decent deck. I guess I got one deck with a Maverick. If you don't know what a Maverick is a card that belongs to another house, but basically put a spin on it and then put a little symbol up top. It's like a triangle, and then switch the house of it.
In Magic terms, it'd be the equivalent of getting a green mana card in like a blue deck.
Yeah, exactly. So I was happy with that. It was interesting, the kind of players you kind of ran into in a new game. So I want to ask you, you were playing this all weekend more than me. I was busy playing Destiny. What kind of players did you run into? I'll give you my opinions. I want your opinions first. What did you run into? A mix? It
was a pretty big mix. There was one player of the entire weekend that I thought was kind of overly aggressively competitive, to the point that it was, if I had to play him consistently, it would not be fun. Like, it was, he actively annoyed me with, I don't know, his certain attitude, but beyond that, it was a great group of people. I will say you could definitely tell the people who were kind of new to collective card gaming versus some of the old school Magic players, because there are certain habits I guess you develop playing Magic. I haven't played in almost 20 years now, and Magic players tend to be a lot more aggressive. They fight, they always want to attack with creatures, whereas new players who don't have those ingrained habits and don't think if I have to keep attack to win, they actually do a little bit better in the game. Yeah. There's also something in Magic of having card advantage. With Magic, you're only drawing 1 card per turn. It doesn't matter what you did. And you can be in a very strong position in Magic by only drawing 1 card and playing what you have on the table, but maintaining a large hand. If you have 6 or 7 cards in your hand and your opponent is down to 1 or 2, you have 6 or 7 options. They have 1 or 2. You have an advantage. In Keyforge, it's the exact opposite. You want to be playing as much as you can, as often as you can, throwing everything on the table, with some rare exceptions. But
there's definitely situational cards. Even if you have like 5 of, let's say, shadows, there's a card in there that you may only play 4 because, like, I'm saving this maybe for like the end.
Right, but there's no detriment to playing a lot of cards very quickly because you're drawing up to 6 again, and the faster you can cycle your deck. And again, in Keyforge, it's a little different. If you run out of cards, you reshuffle and redeal, as opposed to Magic, which when you're out, you're out.
You're milled, you're out.
You've lost the game.
Yeah, what I noticed about most of the players at PAX was everybody was very excited. They're like, this is like a cool game. It's different. It's unique. Like you said, I ran into a couple of like really like green players, like very new, which was cool. I was like, okay, like why not? And then. And I'm not saying this is anything bad about anybody who's coming to PAX internationally, but I found that a lot of the people that came from maybe like Canada or I think there were people from like Europe who came to PAX Unplugged.
Oh yeah,
and they took it very, even if it was like a casual thing, took things very seriously.
Well, yeah, but that it kind of makes sense because if you're traveling that far,
you're coming to play competitive.
They're on a different level of competitive, so they're used to very strict kind of protocols of how you play the game, and when they run into people, I mean, they look at us and say, "Well, you're a complete amateur. You don't know the etiquette of the game."
So basically, I didn't have any bad experiences playing anybody in Keyforge. I did have like 1 or 2 playing in both Galactic Qualifiers and Destiny over the weekend. That doesn't shock me. But yeah, I thought it was a very nice atmosphere, mainly because of the excitement of the game. And I think maybe you did too. I spoke with one of the judges for a while after the last tournament on Sunday, and he was talking about how he'd never seen excitement for a game like this before.
Yeah, it's been huge.
It's been huge. So let's talk about that. It's sold out everywhere. You can't get it. Apparently, like the one and only place that you can get it right now is like Barnes and Noble.
I might head to Barnes and Noble after this.
So a lot of people are just like in love with it and selling decks out. Do you think that is going to stick? Do you think it's just because it's new?
I think it's certainly going to taper off. With a new game like this, the serious players, and I mean my game collection, I don't even like to think about how much I've spent on games over the past 15 years or so. But when you're getting into something like this, there is certainly, it's real easy to say, I just want one more deck. I want to see what's in that next deck. I'm going to buy a case of decks and such. But I think the vast majority of people who play the game are going to be picking up 2, 3, 4 decks, and you can run a really long time on 3 or 4 decks. If you get a good deck that you like, I think 4 decks is kind of a sweet spot for it. You can play a lot, and you can have a lot of fun with the game without ever worrying about, is this deck going to become outdated in a couple of weeks or months when the new expansion comes out? Fantasy Flight, now subject to change because it's Fantasy Flight and their word doesn't necessarily mean law. But their intention right now is that any deck you buy will be infinitely playable. That there's never going to come a time where they say, we're retiring Call of the Archon set, you're not allowed to use those in tournaments anymore. Like with Magic, they have to do that. There's a necessity to say, we're getting rid of the old cards. You can only use the current expansion, like the current 2 expansions. And
Destiny's in the process of basically switching over from standard format to what is the trilogy format right now.
Right.
Cards won't be
so they kind of cull out old sets first to give incentive to buy new ones, and also to kind of keep the balance there, because as they go along, they're going to start saying, when we started the game, that one seemed a little too powerful, or it seemed reasonable. Now it's definitely too powerful as the way the game's changed. Or old cards, old pieces, they're nowhere near as powerful enough, so let's just get rid of them. Then that certainly can happen with Keyforge. As time goes down the line, they might start, the power balance will change, and it could just be that a Call of the Archons deck won't be useful because the power creep will go up. But it could also be that once they kind of get their stride going, they just say, you know what, we weren't thinking when we created those cards, we can't have them because the Call of the Archons decks are dominating every tournament or something.
Yeah. So, both of us won some games. You won a lot of games. You were lucky and you got to win some of those really nice metal keys.
I got a full set of the metal, a full set of the acrylic 3D keys, and a full set of the amber that goes in those 3D keys.
Yeah, so I think I got a full set of the amber. I didn't get any metal keys, unfortunately. But what do you think, the tournament scene is going to be like moving forward? Because I did think that the prize support, and like you said, I think some of this was left over. The prize support, I think, needs to change and maybe be a little bit better. I definitely felt like for games like X-Wing and Destiny, the prize support was done very smartly. Whereas this, I thought, okay, like some chain trackers with full art or some of these amber, it's nice, but I maybe would like something a little bit better for the price of entry into these tournaments. Not only the prize support, but what do you see moving forward in the coming months for Keyforge?
I was actually thinking of that during the tournaments because I felt the same way, that a lot, while I love the metal keys and I love the 3D keys, and I got some great other prizes. I've got the acrylic damage counters and such like that. And I was thinking like, wow, maybe they could kind of bump up the quality of the prizes especially for the full wins. Kind of the blessing and the curse of Keyforge is there's not a lot of components to it.
Yeah.
In something like Destiny, in X-Wing, Legion, in a lot of these games, some of the high-end prize support stuff is alternate art cards.
And spot glosses, which are not going to be legal in
Right.
Keyforge.
In Keyforge, you literally could never have an alternate art version of a card because you couldn't use that card in your deck. So if you can't have that, what do you give? Well, as you said, they have the chain tracking cards, which had either full art on the back or the logo art, and that's neat, but I already almost have a full set of those just from playing. So year after year, they can give new versions of that, but do I really care? I need one of those cards ever. I have like 18 of them at this point. I just don't need more of them. Acrylic tokens are nice. I saw the next prize kit that we have available just for the local stores, and there are metal damage tokens, and there are small cards for the stun and the power cards. But once you get to a certain point, you have all the components you need to play the game, and if you've upgraded all those components, there's nothing left to give. I mean, you can give medals, you can give plaques, you can give stuff to just say, hey, look, I won. But I just can't think of anything interesting that you would do to add to it.
I think that they could do something really cool with like play mats,
Sure.
You could do play mats, and the thing with Keyforge is you want to see what deck you're going to play with. I think that Fantasy Flight has a really cool opportunity to maybe do something. They have this cool new unique game out to do some kind of unique thing with deck boxes, like deck box prizes. So you have a treasure deck, show that off, make some kind of like really cool deck box prize or some kind of cool playmat prize, something that that is a little different that you might not get like at another tournament. Like I said, the game's, I think, 3.5 weeks.
Yeah.
3.5 weeks or so.
They don't even have their app fully functioning yet.
Exactly.
So,
last question here. There's been some talk that maybe Keyforge is a little bit more for the casual player. Do you think it is more for the casual player, or is it for competitive players as well?
I think it's going to have a very strong competitive component. It certainly has a much, much lower barrier to entry than any other game kind of its type. Not that technically there is no other game of its type. It's the first one to do this. But of a card type of game of these, when I first started playing Magic, the fun was, hey, this is my deck. Can my deck beat yours?
Yeah.
And am I a better player than you? But also, does my deck win? Now that doesn't really happen in competitive level. Pretty much everyone's net decking. You go out, you spend $100 or so, and you buy up the current best deck. And
there,
that wasn't around really when I first started playing. The internet wasn't, everywhere. But with this, it really does have the option to say, I can go out, spend $10, and there's a chance I can have a deck that's tournament worthy, and I won't need to do anything more to it. And that's great for people who don't want to spend a lot into it and who just want to do a casual play of it. And when you encounter playing, you guys can just happily play with what you have. You never need to worry about it. But on a competitive level, those same decks you're playing at home, you can bring out, and there's a real good chance you can win with them. You could go very, very far with them. One of the tournament types we haven't talked about is the idea, and this would be a much longer tournament, and this is why I'm sure they didn't do it there, but it runs in a 3-deck round or 3-game round where I play you with my deck, then we switch decks. I play you with your deck. If I can win both ways, I'm just the better player. I beat you with mine, I beat you with yours, I'm the better player, win the round. Presuming it doesn't go that way, if we trade off, like I beat you with my deck, but then you beat me with my deck, well, clearly we've established that my deck is either luckier or it might just be stronger. So for the third round, we bid chains for the option to draft between those two decks. And now, well, I think I could beat you with my deck, and I can do it with 4 chains. Maybe you think you could beat me with my deck with 5 chains. And that's going to be at the high level of play. I think when they're doing full tournaments, when they're doing the Keyforge Worlds, that's how they're going to do it, is bring your best deck, bring your best game, and who really can work it the best.
Well, it'll certainly be interesting. I can't wait to see what Keyforge does going forward. I think you feel the same way.
Yeah.
Bryan, I want to thank you for coming back and talking with us.
Thanks for having me again.
We'll be talking Keyforge again down the road. Our PAX wrap-up continues next week on episode 9 when I sit down with a couple of friends who played in Destiny in the Galactic Qualifiers during the weekend, and that'll be on episode 9 next week. So when we come back, Matt will be back, and we are going to be talking about the very mysterious cancellation of Daredevil and what it means moving forward, if Charlie Cox will ever get to put on the mask again. We'll talk about that when we come back. Stick around. Welcome back to Everything is Permitted, and Matt is rejoined us, and
Yes.
We actually have a surprise visitor. One of our fellow Sons of Ben members is here, Rob Migliaccio, and we are very excited to have you on, man. Welcome.
Thank you, guys. Glad to be here.
Good.
You got
So,
the name right. That was
I
that
did.
was the
I did.
important
How many
thing.
times
10
did I
points.
say it
10
before I
points.
hit
We got
record?
it.
10 points for Brown. So Daredevil, guys. Daredevil. Amazing show on Netflix, as the Marvel shows are. Matt, we've talked about these shows a bunch already because of the cancellations. Mm-hmm. This seems to, the more that we hear about it, have just come out of nowhere. Apparently, Marvel execs, creators, actors, no one had any idea what was going on. No one at Disney asked for them to cancel it because, Disney Plus is coming in 2019. There was that rumor that everything was getting moved over there. Apparently not the case that, Disney asked them to do this. It had nothing to do with that. So I guess the biggest question is, what the hell happened?
I mean, honestly, I feel like this will be something that books will be written about years from now, is the fall of Netflix and Marvel, or Netflix and Disney, or whoever you want to argue Netflix versus whomever.
Whose fault it was,
like
basically.
who this is, because I feel like that there's a lot more that went on behind the scenes rather than one of the sides just saying, we're going to walk away from this. And it's to me, it seems like I feel, my feeling is that Disney or Marvel or whomever started saying, like, look, we're going to start upping the cost of how much it's going to cost you to license this stuff. And, they said we're going to reevaluate this in the near future once our own streaming service comes out. And and then Netflix, rather than put up with that in the near future or down the road or whatever, just said, we're walking away from this. We're done. We're going to start throwing money into all this weird shit that Netflix is doing. And some of it is interesting. Some of it I couldn't care about.
Right.
That's my personal feeling, is that Netflix just said, rather than fight with you guys down the road about licensing and money and this and that, we're just going to walk away now.
Rob, do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think Netflix is really becoming more or less, it's going back to its beginnings of like the original series. I mean, look at House of Cards, even though it was, based on a BBC. Yeah. That was original stuff. Stranger Things, different things like that.
Haunting of Hill House.
So Haunting of Hill House.
Fantastic show.
Haven't watched that yet.
So
too afraid to watch that. Another true moment of my life. No, but I think they're trying to go more or less. I mean, yeah, obviously, the Marvel has done immense things for Netflix, but I think they might be trying to go back to the original Netflix stuff so that they can keep it in-house. They don't have to pay out, those licenses and loyalties.
So actually, you bring up something I did want to talk about. So we'll actually just start there. I mean, are they basically just throwing the metaphorical like fuck you to Disney, saying, hey, guess what? You're doing your own streaming service. We don't need your properties to succeed with your new streaming service.
I mean, I hope that's not the case, because we see Disney and Marvel and different like Universal and whatnot living in harmony, quote unquote.
Right.
You look at Universal Islands of Adventure down in Florida. They have the Marvel Superhero Island. Disney could have easily came in and said, you know what, you're in our backyard. Screw you. Take it out. But they've come to terms with the contract. So I mean, I think there could have been some harmony. I don't know if we'll ever know what's going to happen, but
my feeling is, and I believe in our very first episode we talked about this, and I said, yes, right now a lot of companies are kumbaya, are like, oh, we have a gentleman's agreement, we'll allow you to use our superheroes.
Yeah, I mean, Sony and Marvel made Spider-Man work again.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. However, as I said back then, is that it only takes one person to be a petulant asshole or something like that in regards to negotiations. As I said, to me, this would be like a fascinating book to read, years down the line, when all the details are known as to who said what in what meeting, who said this and this and that. As I said, my feeling is that this could almost be the start of where companies start saying, all right, you know what, this is mine. Or take your shit and go. I don't want any part of this anymore.
See, and that's kind of where I'm sitting, and I do tend to believe that Netflix is like, okay, we're competing with Hulu. We're going to be competing CBS All Access,
Disney
even though
Plus
it was yep. Disney Plus is the big one. But CBS All Access has proved that it can at least stay afloat. They renewed Star Trek Discovery for season 2. They have the Picard show launching in 2019. Mm-hmm. They're rebooting the Twilight Zone. So there's So there's another competitor. They have other original programming on CBS All Access. So basically, Netflix, I do believe, is like, look at all this amazing crap that we've already put out. We don't need your properties, so you can have them if you want them, but we're not going to run them anymore. Mm-hmm. That's where I stand. But from a business point of view, it doesn't make sense to me, because if Disney and Marvel wasn't asking for these to be removed, if they said, hey, we're not putting these on our network, why would Netflix, who, listen, they're a business, money comes first. Daredevil season 3, none of us have seen it. I think we've all been like hit hard by the blow. We like the show that's been canceled, so I've been like waiting to
milk
watch
it a little bit.
Yeah. Why would they cancel? Not only that was critically acclaimed, but apparently the viewership was amazing. Like the ratings, as far as however you rate, Netflix ratings, was there.
I mean, honestly, like in a little sidebar here, I think the thing that sucks the most about all this cancellation is the people whose livelihoods were in these shows. You know, whether you're just working on it or you're an actor on it or something like that, and it kind of blows my mind that that Marvel or Disney or whomever, like maybe that'll change down the road, is that they're, you know, when they're saying like, oh, we have no intention of bringing it to Disney Plus or anything like that, that they would let something as amazing as like Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin just fall and just go away like that. I mean, I legitimately love that character and how he's portrayed.
Wouldn't you want? I mean, wouldn't you guys want to see him like in a Tom Holland Spider-Man movie? As Kingpin?
That would be really good.
He would fit in that, yeah.
But do you see on the Disney Plus platform? Do you see a shows like like that in this universe on a Disney Plus where everything's all
come watch Disney Plus. Some dude gets beheaded with a car door.
Yeah. I mean, we'll have the Marvel movies in there and whatnot. Eventually, obviously,
and the new shows that they've announced, like the Loki series and the Scarlet Witch series, and talking about a bit gritty and a different universe, but Rogue One.
Oh yeah.
There's going to be the Rogue One series.
But the thing is, I mean, you look at like Luke Cage and Jessica Jones. You're gonna have some racy. You have some racy stuff in past seasons on there. I don't see that happening on Disney Plus.
I mean, listen, I think Disney did themselves a bit of a disservice calling the service
Disney Plus.
Disney Plus.
But it's the brand.
Because now, Jessica Jones and Daredevil and these shows, they are the epitome of not Disney. Now, there's been talk for years and years that Disney wants to move to a more darker approach, or at least have programming that is TVMA or rated R. But I guess this doesn't really seem to be pointing to that.
Yeah.
No, Disney Plus strikes me as that service that Disney wants parents to just turn on for their kids. Just open up the Disney Plus app, sweetie, and just start watching stuff on there. And you don't have to worry about like, oh God, he just loaded up like season 1 of Daredevil. Holy shit! Like I gotta get that. I gotta get that out of his hands right now. I mean, like they want people, because Disney, I give them credit, they play the long game.
Oh yeah.
They basically go into and I'll be the first to admit I grew up with Disney animated films, The Little Mermaid, The Lion King. All that crap.
Yeah.
And I still love it to this day. Like they got their hooks in me when I was a kid, and I still love, quote unquote, the brand to this day. And that's basically what they're doing is, oh yeah, fire up Disney Plus for your kids on their little tablet and all
Come on,
that.
look at what they're doing this whole summer, right? Dumbo, The Lion King. What else? What are the others? Aladdin.
Aladdin's coming
Aladdin.
out.
I mean, like they're just
total reboots.
Yeah.
Nothing.
And almost all of them aren't that good. I don't think Beauty and the Beast live action was that good. I didn't hear a lot of positive things about it, and I honestly cannot picture Will Smith playing the goddamn genie in Aladdin. I mean, like the fact, like just trying to emulate Robin Williams is not something that's going to come off well.
Hopefully that won't be the case.
Yeah,
but
hopefully,
I think the animation portion of the animation studios of Disney is still alive and well.
Yeah.
And that's a conversation that can be held for another time. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I just saw Wreck-It Ralph 2 last night. Freaking amazing. It shows that they still have the oomph and the story behind it, and they can cross that line into having the kids movie, but also interjecting that little
it's going to be
adult themes too.
Wreck-It Ralph 2 is going to be the first movie that we take Cecily to. That's going to be our tester.
Really?
To take her to the theater. Yeah, we've decided.
I got Wreck-It Ralph 1 if she needs to.
We've been watching it like all the time.
Okay.
We have it on the DVR. The question is, because of this unfortunate... I mean, like, listen, out of all these shows, I would say that Daredevil and Jessica Jones were my favorite of the whole... I never watched Iron Fist. Whatever, that show can burn.
You're not missing anything.
But, yeah.
be
do
honest.
you think at this point, do they even film a third season of Jessica Jones? They haven't announced a cancellation yet, but I don't believe production
I don't think they've announced Jessica Jones or Punisher.
No,
being
well,
canceled.
and so that's the question: do they film a third season of Jessica Jones, and will they air the season of Punisher that they have filmed for season 2?
See, my thing is that I wish there had been much more advance notice of these cancellations, because you could have had like an ending
Yeah.
to these shows. You
Yeah.
could have had like that final episode where Punisher walks into the sunset or whatever you want to do. You know, you could have filmed that closure for the fans who've been watching the stuff for the last few years when you just axe it on the spot.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh, okay, that story you've been following, it's gone.
Or
it's
even
done.
even Defenders, part 2, like season 2, you could have had that. And I thought what they did with the first quote unquote season of Defenders was really, really well done. They could have easily done a second one and say, okay, this is how we're ending it.
I think where the Defenders fell short was, I think it was 3 episodes too long. I think they could have done it like as a full-on miniseries, like a 3-night event, like where it was like 3 just very well put together episodes. Unfortunately for me, Defenders felt just like, oh, this is Daredevil season 3 and this is Jessica Jones season 3 and here are these other characters.
It was just a lot of too much.
Too-
I
yeah,
hear what you're saying. It was too much building, like up to like
Yeah.
okay, yeah. Here's your different origins. Oh, here's everybody coming together, and here's the bad guy in fight. Okay, everybody goes back on their separate ways.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm thinking that Jessica Jones season 3 doesn't happen at this point. I don't think that Netflix is going to waste the money of not airing a show that they filmed already. But
I feel like if the contracts were already signed and things were already negotiated, they're gonna make it. It's just how long after they air it does it get
episode
axed?
1 here, Jessica Jones is on Netflix. By the way, you're canceled.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, oh yeah,
Enjoy
Jessica
while it lasts.
Jones. Like, and then as soon as the credits roll, like, by the way, we canceled this.
Yeah.
You got 5 minutes. You got 5 months to enjoy this. Good luck.
And you'll never have it ever again. I was reading an interview and an article, with Charlie Cox, who plays Matt Murdock on Daredevil, who, this has been his life for 4.5 years. This is what you were talking about. I mean, people, not just the fans, like the people who were the stars of the show and worked on the show, like this affects them just as much as it affects us. I mean, Charlie Cox is great as Matt Murdock and he's gotten worldwide recognition for it, but like, who knows when his next gig will be? You do these long shows and sometimes you don't work for a while. He said that he was saddened by the cancellation. I mean, we all are.
Yeah.
Doesn't understand it. And then, the biggest thing, which really broke my heart, is that he said it's weird to think about the possibility of not playing Matt Murdock again.
Yeah.
So, do you think it is the last we've seen of Hell's Kitchen? Does Marvel, who doesn't have a great relationship already with their TV side, something we haven't talked about a lot, they don't get along, the film side and the TV side. Mm-hmm. Do they come in and save the day and, pick up their arguably best television program?
I mean, it depends upon how it would be done. I'm sure Marvel could step in and say, all right, we'll move it to a network or syndication or something like that. I'm sure they could do that. They have the ability to. They have the connections to. Will they? I don't know, because everybody, it's Netflix's Daredevil. That's what it's Daredevil. It's on Netflix. That's what everybody knows it as. Trying to move it to, NBC or Fox or whatever the hell.
Well, I don't think it would go to one of the majors. I
No,
think it would be like
I
an
know. I'm just
FX or
throwing out
USA.
examples, but I mean that. I could see them almost redoing the show at some point. Is redoing it, recasting people, and just basically saying like, this is now our Daredevil. Netflix had theirs. This is ours.
I don't want to see that at all. I mean, because I think if Marvel was smart, they would turn around and say, okay, you know what? We think, Daredevil would work well in the MCU, and bring back, Charlie Cox. As much as I want to see that happen, I don't think it's going to happen, unfortunately. But it would be cool to have that, because you already have those subtle hints about, okay, the Battle of New York. You look at Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. You have those crossovers, but it's
Yeah, the whole thing is interesting to me, because I think, Matt, you and I we didn't talk about it on the show, but I think I mentioned to you that S.H.I.E.L.D. got renewed, right? Mm-hmm. They got renewed for what we thought was going to be a final abbreviated season. I think like the next season is only going to be like 12 episodes, maybe less.
Okay.
And it's not going to air until after Infinity War, obviously. Yeah. But then that's like months away. And they went and renewed it for a full season after the season that hasn't even aired yet. So you just never know what's going on with Marvel and Disney. But, like, you got to think that some of these characters, like, Daredevil, maybe Jessica Jones, do have, and like you said, Kingpin, have a place in not in the Marvel TV universe, but the MCU. I mean, as a whole. So,
the thing is that at this point, I haven't seen Marvel integrate that dark and gritty, like the Tom Hardy Venom. I don't see how I'm granted I haven't seen the Venom movie. I don't see how he's going to fit with the Spider-Man Homecoming, or the Tom Holland Spider-Man. Like, they're two vastly different things, and trying to merge them is going to be complicated. It could be messy. If they pull it off, I will applaud them. I will be the first to admit it. From what I've seen of the Venom trailers and such like that, I don't know how they're going to accomplish that. And trying to take the Kingpin that literally cut a dude's head off with a car door and putting him into this bright and sunny MCU universe, which has its humor and stuff like that, and has all these pratfalls with Thor being silly and all that, I don't know how he fits in there. Because, Netflix was Marvel's dark universe. That was their mirror to the MCU. Is just like, oh yeah, we have Iron Man, and they're all having a good time and having fun. They're having drinking parties and such like that. Meanwhile, in the streets, here's Daredevil, like, fighting 20 dudes at once in one long take through 3 hallways.
One of the best film sequences in TV.
Yeah, I mean, like, you have that stuff. I just can't see how they merge those characters into the MCU.
Yeah, but I think we've turned a huge corner now with what happened in Infinity War, where, it's now, I mean, you look at, the trailer, which obviously we're going to go into, it is dark.
Yeah.
It is so dark. Well, not so dark, but dark, emotional. I mean, yeah, you get that funny, bit at the end, but I mean, I think they're turning a corner, and I hope it doesn't stay that way. I really hope it doesn't, because then you're going to go down to DC,
Well, I think they're experimenting. They want to see, like, you can't keep the same formula forever. No. People are going to get tired of it because people are going to get fatigued from it. So I think that, like, things like Venom are kind of putting their, dipping their toes in the water of, like, can we do something that's a little darker, has a little bit of that little humor, but it's darker, where it's the anti-hero and all that. Can we do that? Can we attempt that? I mean, I don't know how well Venom did to know if it was considered success or not to them. But...
I don't believe so. But
okay.
Well, I mean, we have no idea what's going to happen. The only thing, to do is wait and see, unfortunately. Rob did bring up that we will be getting to the Avengers trailer on our next episode. I want to thank you for doing this sporadically. This was kind of a nice surprise to talk about Daredevil. On our next episode, we will be talking and running down the whole Avengers Endgame trailer and so much more. But before we do that, here's a preview of that episode. Biggest reveal, I think, in the trailer is what everybody was hoping for, is that Hawkeye is alive and well. I wouldn't say well.
He looks pretty messed up.
He's the Ronin persona from the comics.
I want that sword.
It's such a cool sword. Is alive and well. You got to imagine his family got snapped.
Yeah.
And he's out there getting revenge and being a total samurai badass.
It seems like he went full on Batman.
You have that much and to look forward to, and Rob will be on that show as well. Thank you to our hosts here at Wade's Comic Madness, as always. We will see you not in 2 weeks, but we will see you next week.
Yes.
Have a good night.
To the moon, by airplane to the rocket, by taxi to the airport, by